All right, hello everyone, and welcome to our latest ALTA Insights webinar. I'm Jeremy Yohe, ALTA's Vice President of Communications, and I'm excited to have you join our version of March Madness. The men's or women's basketball tournaments is probably my most exciting time. Filling out the bracket, losing, your Cinderella picks early on. It's always, a fun time. While the basketball tournaments aren't going to start for a few more weeks, our presentation is geared to help you learn some solid plays that will result in some wins on the court for your company, hopefully. Before starting, I just need to touch on a few housekeeping items. If you've been to our webinars in the past, you can probably tell them to me. Today's webinar is recorded. You'll get an email with a link to the recording tomorrow. You can always access all of ALTA's webinars at alta.org/webinars. That's alta.org/webinars. You can download a PDF of the presentation, well, a version of the presentation from the handouts section in the Go to Webinar window pane. If you have a question during the webinar, please submit them through the questions box. We'll hold some time at the end for Q&A. And with that, let me introduce today's speaker. Many of you probably already know Cindy McGovern. She's participated on our webinars in the past and at our live events. Dr. Cindy, as you're more widely known, Cindy is the founder of Orange Leaf Consulting, a consulting firm specializing in helping title agents, attorneys, underwriters grow their business. And she is the author of the book, Sell Yourself, How to Create, Live, and Sell a Powerful Personal Brand. Cindy is also the author of the Wall Street Journal bestseller, Every Job is a Sales Job, How to Use the Art of Selling to Win at Work. So Cindy, with that, I'll pass the ball to you.
Very nice. Thank you, Jeremy. Hey, everybody, so excited to be spending time with you today. And I'm really looking forward to today's webinar because these are things that we actually talk about in coaching with our clients, but we've never actually done in a webinar. So when Jeremy reached out and said, hey, you want to do one? I'm like, yeah, let's have some March Madness fun. So what I'm going to do today is give you those strategic plays to run a fast break for a quick score. But notice the word strategic. Some of these are not necessarily tactical. These are truly about how your company is running in this market and helping you to shift from more reactive to proactive. And like we all know, the market is the market at the time of this recording. But I believe that every job is a sales job. Every opportunity to talk with a customer, to talk with a potential customer is an opportunity to make a sale where you're selling them on yourself, you're selling them on your brand, you're selling them on the opportunity to work with your company. So let's talk about ways we can get the entire team involved in this. So we've got a lot to cover. We're going to talk about effective communication with prospects. And we talk about this so often with our customers where this is the way you talk to a customer, you make it about them. But I want to give you some really key things. And some of these are going to be reminders, and some of these are going to be ones that you want to go back and discuss with your team. We're also going to talk a little bit about asking for referrals, building those client relationships, and most importantly, and this is the one I want you to take back today and actually have some conversation with, is staying ahead of the competition. So let's go ahead and begin. Let's talk about effective communication first. Everybody talks about this wonderful service that we give as an industry, and I don't disagree. I think you all give good service, but the problem is that's the whole point. You all give good service. So how do you define what service really is? And there's an exercise that we do at Orange Leaf Consulting with our clients where we have you define the service that you provide. One of the things I hear often is about really good communication. Okay, well, that's great. But again, isn't that part of the expectation? Communication, I expect you to tell me what's going on with my file. I expect you to keep me updated. I expect you to tell me if there's, an issue. So what are the ways that you can create some wow moments within the life of the file and within your customer base so that they have a story to tell? Because that's really what it's about. Think about it in terms of a basketball game. You go to a basketball game, if it's a good game, There's not a lot to say. You might talk about one or two of the plays, oh, so and so made a three-pointer, but there's not a lot to talk about. It's we won, we lost. Okay, fine. The deal closed, the deal didn't close. But it's those exciting moments within the game, those wow moments, those moments that truly give you something to talk about that then become kind of the folklore, right? And so, what we want to do is create that buzz in the market about your organization. And your team needs to find ways to do that. One of the easiest ways is to tighten up your response time. The sooner you reach out, the more likely you are to get business. But more importantly, see if you can respond to every single communication within an hour or to all of the messages within the week. You guys at the result. And let me tell you a quick example of this. We have a client that we are coaching their paralegal team. So it's a law firm. So the paralegal specifically, we set this challenge out for them. Guess what ended up happening at the end of the week? They had so many people saying, I can't believe you got back to me so quickly. I was just telling my colleague about this. Referrals started coming in the door because they had something to talk about because it was a wow moment. This firm has always given good service. This firm has always given good communication, but it was that little extra effort that changed the story. It changed the narrative. It gave them something to talk about. Think about it as a consumer for yourself. If you're sitting there and you're waiting for your car to be, the tires rotated or something, and you expect it at the end of the day, but they call you at lunch and tell you your car is ready, that gives you something to talk about. So tightening up that response time. Now, I already hear some of you saying, but our team is busy, we're doing more with less. Totally get it. But you build this into the life of the file. You build this into the process, and then it becomes what you do. We have a rule here at Orange Leaf Consulting and Orange Leaf Academy. All communication is returned within 24 hours, most of the time by the end of the day. We're based on the West Coast. Sometimes you'll get it from us after hours. But that's a rule of thumb is we try to get back as quickly as possible. I will also tell you my own personal role is I try to get to you within an hour. And now that doesn't always happen because of calls or I'm on a webinar or something like that. But truly, we are in the business of anxiety management with our customers. So the more we can be proactive about that communication, the more that we can show them we're on top of things, the better story they're going to have to tell about us. So the second thing that I want you to be able to do is serve everyone at the table. Now, this is about expanding your target list to all parties involved. ALTA's done a great job over the years of doing research on the homeowner, the consumer themselves, and there are tons of resources on ALTA's website that you can be using to reach out to the consumer, editorial calendars, flyers, rack cards, you name it. It's phenomenal stuff. But are you doing it? Because this is not new. This is something that's been around for about a decade at this point. So what are we doing to truly serve all parties involved? And I know a lot of people will say, well, Dr. Cindy, the customer is our realtor because that's who sends us a deal. Disagree with that. But we truly are living in a peer review society. And those Google reviews, which I'm sure you guys have, actually matter. There's algorithms, there's magic gremlins in the web that make things happen and route more leads to you guys and to your website. But do all of these parties have a story to tell? If they don't, we're leaving some money on the table. So you might need to actually intensify your outreach. You might need to think about how you're doing more outreach and make sure that they know you're ready to serve their needs at any given moment. For example, let's say that you're doing some kind of marketing to the consumer, whether it's you're posting explainer videos on your YouTube channel or you're posting on Instagram bullet points for them to think about at the closing. These are good, but are they the expectation nowadays? Maybe. So what are we doing to do just a little bit more to give them a story to tell? So if you're giving me information, that's great. Information I kind of take in on my own. But you know why videos go viral? Because there's something to talk about. And they're usually adjacent to the main message. So it's a story about title insurance, but it's actually the way it was told. It was told by a cartoon, it was told by a celebrity, it was told by a cameo. So those are the things that you want to give them something to talk about, but that's the way you're serving every single person at the table. So I have a question for you. There's a really good way to do a pop quiz here. Go back to your team after you get off of this webinar, and I want you to ask them who our customer is. Just a simple question. Walk around the desks and just say, who's our customer? And they're going to say the realtor, of course. And then you're going to say, well, which realtor? They're going to say, well, the directing realtor, whether it's buyer or seller. Great. And then I want you to ask them, who else is our customer? And then they're going to say the non-directing agent, which is absolutely true. And then I want you to ask them, who else is our customer? Y'all know this. There's 5 sides to every residential transaction. And don't even get me started on commercial. There's like 19 sides to those. But if you know there's 5 sides to every deal, are we actually serving all 5? Maybe. So here's another exercise that you can do with your team. Pull them into a meeting, and I want you to have them map out the customer experience for every part of the party. So if everybody's at the table, what is the customer experience for the directing realtor? What is the customer experience for the non-directing realtor? What is the customer experience for the lender? So on and so forth. And when they say things like, well, they get a million emails from us. Okay. Is that really an experience? No, it's just part of the process. Give me something to talk about. So that's something fun that you guys can do. I want to talk about asking for referrals. Now, this is one of those moments where you guys go, yep, Dr. Cindy, heard you talk about this before. Okay, is this part of your regular practice? This is a very strategic play that can bring very quick business in the door. You have fans out there already. You do. Are they stand silently, or are they raising their foam finger in celebration of you? Have you asked them? So I want you to sit at the basketball game with me, the virtual basketball game. When you look at that screen up there and it says, make some noise, that is them asking you to help them. And you absolutely do. You start stomping your feet, you start clapping, you start cheering. Are you asking your fans to make some noise? We need their help. We need to solicit their support. So you kind of want to think about prioritizing your referral requests from the most satisfied ones. Who are the ones that love you the most, right? But don't let this end up on the back burner. And I see this happen with our clients as well, where this is something you do when you get slower. Yikes. Okay, I want you to consider referrals like free throws. You're still going to practice these. Even if you did great and you won the last game, you're still going to practice these. So making sure this is part of your regular life of the file. So then the question that I get is, okay, well, Dr. Cindy, who's going to ask for these? Well, if you have salespeople, that's a no-brainer. Of course, the salespeople are doing it. But what about your processors? What about your closers? What about the front desk? I would argue that every job is a sales job. So do your team members know that it is not just their opportunity, but their responsibility to invite people to come back? Now, those of y'all that know me, you know that I'm originally from the South, and I fully believe in Southern hospitality. That is the way that I live my life, and I want everybody to feel welcome and come back to my home. So does everybody know they are always welcome? Do we actually know that, yes, I want you to come back and I want you to tell your friends about this? When you go to a restaurant, they ask you, tell your friends. So are you truly creating those raving fans, or do you just have some fans? Let's get them wearing the t-shirt, waving that foam finger and telling other people, but you have to ask them for it. So something that you can do is you can reach out to at least one client every day this week for a referral. Now, that sounds like a lot to some of you because you're going, I don't know, I feel like I'm a stalker. These are your fans. These are people that want to hear from you. These are people that want to help you. And the best part about this, y'all, is you're selling to salespeople. How do real estate agents and lenders get their business? Mostly by referral. So if we know that and we think about it that way, it makes it a little bit easier and a little bit more comfortable to do that outreach. But if this does not become part of your practice as an organization, we leave a lot of business on the table. They need to know that you are consistently accepting new clients that are like them. And there's ways that we coach our clients on how to ask for a referral. You want to be very specific, or else they're going to give you, the brand new realtor that just got their license and can't spell real estate yet. But I want you to be mindful of this just becomes part of the practice. So pop quiz. When is the last time that you asked for a referral? Think about that. And was it a wimpy ask or was it a real ask? And I'll explain the difference. The wimpy ask is, keep this in mind. Is that even really an ask? I don't think it counts. There's no question mark. So what is the true ask? Was it, hey, Jeremy, I love working with you, and I've been trying to get in front of Sandy in your office, and I'd love the opportunity if you would tell her how we make you look good at the closing table and how much you love working with us. Can you make that introduction for me this week? Pretty specific, but make it easy for that person to help you. So there may be some coaching involved with your team. You may need to coach them and teach them how to ask for these, but it can be done. And you can gamify it too. Have everybody ask, somebody gets a Starbucks gift card or something like that at the end of the day. Have some fun with this. And that's why we wanted to do a March Madness theme. We want you to gamify this. We want you to be able to take this back to your team, have some fun, and have some celebration. So I have a little reminder, you guys that know me know this. You must ask for the referral, you must ask for the business, you must ask for the order, and then you must be quiet. So often when we ask, we then qualify our ask, or we start actually undoing our ask because we start answering for them. A question needs time to be processed in the mind. So for example, if you came to visit me in California and you said, Sydney, I'm coming to California and I'm going to be in San Francisco for 3 days and I need a restaurant recommendation. What do you know? I'm going to have to think about that. There are hundreds of restaurants that I could send you to, and I'm probably going to have some qualifying questions. But if you said, hey, Sydney, what's a really good Italian place? I still need a minute to think about it. So be respectful of giving them time to process when you do this. And that is a learned skill. Even my seasoned sales pros on today's webinar, we all know this. We get impatient. It's like, but, we're like the kid in the back of the class. Answer. Be quiet around this. So this is something that you also may need to practice with your team. You may need to practice this yourself to help you get used to asking and then hanging on. So just like those free throws, they ask you to cheer and then they ask you to be quiet while they throw. So consider that your ask. So all of these things are really important in terms of the communication and that kind of thing. But I want us to talk about building those client relationships as well. Because when we think about this, it's a relationship business. Obviously, we all know that. But why is it a relationship business? We don't talk about that. It's a relationship business because there is repeat business that comes from this, and then there's advocacy that comes from that. That's a real relationship. And a relationship is when, if there's a mistake, I'm not going to run for the hills. If it's a transactionship, that's a little different. That means I don't really trust you. So the difference between a relationship and a transactionship is truly trust. So the goal is to deepen trust in every single thing that you do. So what I want you to think about is, how are you continuing to deepen trust with your clients and with potential clients? And I think that people confuse rapport and trust a lot of times. I think that you think that rapport is that, oh, they like you. Yeah, I like you. That's great. Doesn't mean I'm going to send you my business. Doesn't mean I'm going to send you another deal. Trust is, I know you're going to take care of me. I don't have to think about it. Here's a way to establish trust in your mind. So go to your team members and I want you to ask them, who is the customer that drives you the most crazy? And they will have that answer lickety split. They're going to say, oh, it's so-and-so. Why do they drive you crazy? Because they call me 10 times a day and they email me and they text me. Why in the world would I be bothering you to make sure you're doing your job? It's because I don't trust you. Yikes. If you really think about it like that, it's because I'm checking on you to make sure you're doing your job. So those are people that we might need to deepen the relationship with so that we can get more business from them, but we give them more positive things to talk about. And like I said earlier, we're in the business of anxiety management. That's not new for you guys. You know that already. So what are we doing to make it even better? This is a really good time in the industry and a good time of the year at the time of this recording to be doing this, because we're not quite at spring market yet. It's just kind of peeking through and we still have a little bit of bandwidth. And if you build these practices in now, they're longer term. It's just building really, really good habits. Takes about 60 days to really build that in. So what we're going to talk about is building those client relationships and making them many, many deeper. And that's what I was talking about earlier about giving them something to talk about. Every closing is an opportunity to make a lasting impression, but how are you really maximizing those moments? We all know that the closing is the great moment. That's the big celebration. And I've heard some phenomenal things that people do at their closing table. But shouldn't that be a celebration already? Shouldn't that be something really cool? And by the way, shouldn't the celebration begin before I ever get there? Think about that one. So, in anticipation of the closing, what is your protocol within your organization? You probably send an email that says the million and one things that I need to bring to the closing, right? Which is terrifying if it's my first time doing this. Or for a realtor, I'm ready for the list. I knew it was coming. So, how do you create and build anticipation for the moment of celebration? Build anticipation for the moment of celebration. That is one of the ways to build relationships. And then you make the closing memorable. You celebrate with the cake and the balloons and the champagne, but you have something for everybody, including the kids and the pets. And I'm not talking about a coloring book. Everybody's got those now. Everybody's got the big key. Jeremy and I were talking about this before the webinar. If you don't have the big key, you're a little late to the game. That's kind of the expectation. Everybody does these things. I want you to talk to your team about this, and I want you to write down 2 strategies that you want to try to make it more memorable. And the way that you do this exercise is you ask your colleagues, what is a celebration moment that was very special to them? I'll give you a very quick story. I was buying a car, this is many years ago, but it's still here. And I knew a friend that worked for the company. They called the organization before I even arrived. They met my husband and I at the door, shepherded us in, knew exactly the ones we wanted to test drive, had them pulled out front already, test drove it, not kidding you. 3 blocks later, I'm like, that's the car, done. I don't even need to test drive the other one. And I make decisions pretty quick. But it was a memorable moment because they made it so easy for us. There wasn't a hemming and hawing and this and that. Now, granted, I had a little insider track because I knew someone. But with your current customers, don't you have that insider track? Don't you know that they want their Keurig with hazelnut cream in it and, 2 little sugars, whatever it is? These are those things. That becomes the expectation. It's the wow part in there. So something we did with one of our clients, which was really fun, is we talked about dogs. I'm a dog person. If you follow me on social media, you know that. So I'm a big dog person. And it's funny because this client had a pet dog in the office. And I'm like, how are you marketing that? Like letting people know this is a pet friendly establishment, bring your pets. And so they changed the way they invited people to the closing table. So they would actually say in their explainer video, which was the closer, videoing, and they sent it out and said, really looking forward to seeing you at the closing table on Thursday, blah, blah, blah. There's a list of all the things you need to bring with you. And I want to make sure that you're bringing your family. This is a big deal and we're going to be celebrating. So please bring your family members. 4-legged and furry are also welcome. And this is going to be a great celebration. When they came in, they had little, organza baggies of milk bones that they would give for the dogs. They, of course, had the coloring books for the kids. But it made it truly a celebration. It was the anticipation of the celebration. They started getting better Google reviews after that because they were already doing the Google reviews, establishing that and getting those in. But the Google reviews went up because, again, it was memorable. They had something to talk about at the end of the day. It gave them a story that the dog was there, that the whole family was there, the kids were there. So I want you to also consider, has it become a little bit stale? And I'm not judging here, but I think sometimes because we're doing this as an industry so well that it's a little bit on autopilot. It's kind of like the dentist office. You go in, you get your cleaning and you leave. You go in, you get your cleaning and you leave. What are we doing to really make it better? So that last bullet point on here, that's the conversation with your team. Where have they had a memorable experience lately? And what was it? And to get on my soapbox for 30 seconds, it's not that hard anymore because I think, unfortunately, We all have more stories of not good experiences than we have of good experiences. So those ones that really come to mind where it's like, wow, this was awesome, will really shine. What can we adopt from those other industries? What can we adopt from those encounters we've had as consumers that we can bring to our closing tables? Because again, I think all these things are great, confetti balloon cake, all lovely. It's not just about that. It's about the way you make me feel and what I'm going to talk about when I leave. So I highly recommend this. So another piece that you can do with your team to deepen the client relationships is following up with every single person. Of course, we're going to thank clients for their business. I know a lot of you are already doing the handwritten notes, you're doing the videos, you're doing all of these things. But what if we devoted a week to follow with every single person that we worked with in 2023? What if you just had a week of gratitude where you followed up with every single one of your clients? Now, remember, we talked a couple of slides ago about serving everyone at the table. So that's not just the people that sent you the business, but it's the other sides of the deal. That becomes a pretty big list, but you can get everybody involved. So it may be nothing more than a happy belated new year kind of a thing, but get those conversations started again, because it's not their job to remember you, it's your job to be remembered. And some of them you maybe have already seen, right? Some of them have sent you some business this year, and that's great. But again, I encourage you guys to be thinking about, what are you doing proactively? You will be surprised if you do this exercise. So I did this with a client of ours in Q4 when they were preparing for the end of the year and we were doing their strategic planning. And I said, when's the last time we really just concentrated on people we haven't seen for a while? And we really sort of narrowed it to that. They said, oh, we talk to people all the time and they do a blog and they're like, they get our blog. I'm like, that's not a touch point. That doesn't count. That's a marketing email campaign. So we literally just said, let's make a list. So they got everybody involved, everybody made a list, and we were, again, focused on the people that they hadn't seen for a while. They started doing outreach. Some of it was email because people were a little bit more comfortable with that. Some of it was phone calls because people were a little bit more comfortable than that. Some of it was invitations to coffee or lunch, whatever level of comfort it was. And I'm not married to what you choose. What I'm married to is the fact that you do it, period. Make sure that outreach happens. What was interesting about it is they realized there were people that they hadn't seen for quite a while that were actually still doing business. Yikes. Why weren't they sending it here? Top of mind, somebody else was in front of them. This particular client did not have dedicated salespeople. So when their escrow teams were not being more proactive, when the owner was not out there, they didn't have any boots on the ground. So they were competing in a market where there were boots on the ground. So it's looking at ways that you can stay top of mind and following up with everybody. Question for you guys to ask your team. When we're done with the closing, and we've sent, let's say you send a follow-up note to the non-directing agent, which hopefully that's part of your practice already. That's one of the secrets we've been teaching for years. So if you've ever seen me speak at an ALTA event, I talk about that. But that's the first touch point. That's the beginning. In fact, we call it recruiting the other side of the deal. So if you're recruiting, that's not one touch point. That's like 5, 6, 7, 12. So what does that look like to continue to follow up? So it doesn't just start here. This is the kickoff for more. This is the kickoff for more conversation. So you could actually do this where once a quarter, you follow up with everybody from the previous quarter, and you do this in rolling quarters. But again, I encourage you to think about all sides of the deal, because all of those people are a walking commercial for your agency or your law firm or your underwriter. Literally, everyone is a walking commercial. Are they saying anything? Are they silent? Do they think you worked for the real estate agent? Let's give them something to talk about. Connecting and adding value. Okay, there are 1,000 touch points that are available for prospects, for clients. You can share videos on the process. You can share articles. You can share a fun gift that made you think of them. But there is a question that I want you to answer before you ever send an email, a video, a cute little gift, anything. How will this impact their day? Simple question. How will this impact their day? So am I just wanting to make them smile and that's why I'm sending a gift? Okay, great. But am I going to scroll and read and then just move on with my day? Or is this really going to have an impact on me? Is this really going to give me something to talk about? Remember, our whole goal here is to give them something to talk about. So I think we do like throwaway touch points sometimes because we're not adding value. We're connecting, but we're not adding value. Every single touch point that you do should do something that makes their life better, easier, or gives them something to talk about. So videos on the process and what to expect. I would almost argue that's expected. So what is it about the video? Is it fun? Does it show a role play? Is there confetti at the end? Whatever it is, give me something to talk about because that actually does add value to me. If I'm the real estate agent and I forward that to my client, that makes me look really good at the end of the day because I've chosen to partner with a title company or an attorney that actually is going to make this awesome. What is the awesomeness factor? Second part is articles. I see this a lot of times with salespeople. They say, oh, I'm sending them articles on this or that or what's going on in the industry. Okay, that's not very exciting. I can read that on Google. Are you Google? Add value. Pull a couple of bullet points out of that article. Tell me the salient points. I just posted something about a new LinkedIn study that came out, and I posted it literally yesterday about trust and trustworthiness being the highest piece of anything within a sales process. Like nothing happens without trust. That's the thing that needs to occur. So pulled that out, put some text. Could I have just said, ooh, LinkedIn has a really good article you guys should all read? Yeah, but nobody's going to do that. We're in the world of scrolling. So make it easy and add value. Make my life easy to see what it is you're trying to communicate with me. This is a conversation to have. So I want to talk to everybody that has dedicated salespeople for just a moment. Salespeople have great little drip campaigns, whether it's in your CRM and you're doing drip, drip, drip and marketing campaigns, and they're talking about your classes and they're talking about all these things. Look at whatever the last 3 things that went out from your organization were, whether it was through your sales team, whether it's through your, Pardot campaign, whatever it is. Last 3 things. And I want you to read and see if it clearly articulates the value in it for the recipient. Is it absolutely clear why I should read the rest of this, scroll down, or even take 30 seconds out of my day to glance at this? If it's not, change the message. And that's the easy part of this. Y'all can change the message to make it more about them. You lead with what they're going to get out of this, but it is about adding value because the problem is everybody does marketing campaigns now. Everybody does blogs now. A lot of people have podcasts. We write blogs every single month. So I do an Orange Leaf blog and I do a Dr. Cindy blog. In every single one of those, I want to give you a tidbit that will help you grow as a person, as a business, as an entity. That's my goal. That's my value add. So you need to know what your own value add is as you're sending these things out, because I think we do throw away touch points. It's not about the touch point. It's about the connection. And I would even argue that you call it something different. I don't think you call it a drip campaign because that's just drip, drip, drip. That's not connecting. It should be your connection campaign. It should be your recruitment campaign. So even in the vernacular that you choose within your organization can impact the way people see this. So another one, and this is one of my favorites that you guys probably haven't seen that we talk about in our coaching, which is you deepen the relationships with your fans by learning what we call their song. So everybody's got one. Every single person, your directing clients, non-directing clients, your colleagues have these, but it's 4 things that you should know. You should know the situation that they're in, what's going on with their business, what's going on with their life. Are they expanding? Are they getting a team? Are they looking to have a succession plan so they can retire? Whatever it is, their situation, their organization, which is where are they? Are they in the right brokerage? Are they surrounded by the support that they need? What are they not getting? So more about just the structure of their business itself. What are their norms? What does their normative pattern of business look like? What do they like to do? What do they not like to do? I was coaching someone earlier this morning and they were talking about preferring commercial to residential. That was just a preference of theirs. That's the norm of the area of focus for that particular company. So get to know that, and also get to know the norms with regard to how they operate, because those have probably shifted in the last couple of years. We all were here in the last couple of years. We know what happened in 2021 and then, 22, 23, and here we are. So when you look at those norms of patterns, do they have a new norm? Have they caught that stride yet? And they may need your help to reflect on that and see what the norm is. And then you know their goals. So here's another pop quiz. Think about your top 5 clients. These are the people that already send you business. They are already your raving fan. So remember, we're talking about fans here. Can you tell me what their goals are for 2024? Specifically, not that they want more business. That's not a goal. Can you tell me what their true goals are? That they want to actually hit this many transactions, this many sides. They want to break into this zip code. They want to hire an assistant. They want to get a TC on there. Can you tell me that? If you cannot, that's because you don't know their song yet. And that's okay. I'm not judging here, but I want to give you things that you can do, because this is a very strategic play that you can grow and deepen your relationships with these folks and grow your business. But you've got to know all 4 of these, because they do feed together. So my advice to you would be this: go back, think about those folks, those top ones, just start there and get really clear on what you want to learn from them, and write a couple of questions. Get them to meet you, go to lunch, go for coffee, whatever it is, and get to this point of it, because that's, again, where you're deepening, you're getting to that trust level. Now, the pushback I hear from our own clients is, but Dr. Cindy, isn't that really personal when I start asking them about their goals? Yeah, it is. And it should be. Business is personal. You are literally handling these people's paychecks every single time they send you a deal. That is personal. Make it about them. Understand what they're up against, what they're looking to do, what they want to do in their business. Because quite frankly, you're the widget factory. They're just telling you how many widgets and what's going on in the world to make them. So we want them to see us as that partner in this. And that's a really good way to deepen the relationship. So learn their song, focus on that, start with your most raving fans, and then you can build out from there. So I want to talk last about staying ahead of the competition. And I promised you these strategic plays, and so we're going to talk a little bit about this. But I have one that I want to share with you that probably feels a little counterintuitive to sales, but it's actually really important. It's doing a competitor audit. Now, when we're working with a title agency or an attorney, we talk about this. We talk about, how are you different than your competition? And the number one answer that I get off the bat is, we give really good service. My answer is, so do they. Give me something else. You've got to know what's going on in the market to know what you're selling against, know what your superpowers are, so that you can sell against what's out there. So when's the last time you did a competitor audit? Or have you ever? Which competitors do you see and hear about the most? I hear this from our clients, and they say, oh, so-and-so's out there all the time. They're sponsoring this, they're doing that. Okay, great. Why? What are they doing out there? When's the last time you looked at their website, their marketing, their social media? Are they where you should be? Are they marketing to people on YouTube and you're not? Are they getting traction? You can see how many likes they get, how many subscribers they have. All of that is available to you. We're kind of living in this amazing time in the world where there's a lot of transparency of what's available out there. But look at this. So I'll tell you an exercise that we do with some of our clients. I'll pull little excerpts from websites of their competition. And I'll just show them on a coaching call. I'll say, well, which one of these is yours? Oftentimes they can't pick it out because the language is very similar. Clients come first, top-notch service, blah, blah, blah. Tell me something else. Tell me something different. I have a client right now that we're working with, and they're different in an amazing way, and they talk about that. They're a little quirky, and that's their jam. So talk about that. That's your edge. But if you don't know what the competition's doing, it's kind of hard to be able to sell against it. So what do you like about their message? How is it different from yours? And what do you need to do to actually change? And this is part of your strategic plan. So every year, I would highly recommend this. Now, I'm not telling you to stop what you're doing and focus on their game. They're in a different court, right? You're on this court. This is the court you're playing in, but you need to know what's going on over there. So take a peek at what they're doing and see the stuff that you like and see the stuff that you don't like. I think that we can learn a lot by seeing how other people execute. And also, more importantly, the stuff that you don't want to do. I think you're also going to see they're violating RESPA. You're not going to do that, obviously. So that's going to go in the no box. But if they've got a really good campaign on social media, I'm not saying you're going to copy it, but you're going to look at this and go, okay, why is that working? Why did that make me stop scrolling and pay attention? My guess is it added value. There was some kind of an attention getter in there. So then you look at your own social media and you go, okay, do I have that same effect? It's just learning what's out there. It's kind of like, I'm going to date myself, so bear with me. Hopefully, there's some of you that are on this too. Remember the Pepsi challenge, where they would have you taste Coke, taste Pepsi. If you don't compare, you really don't know what you're going to do differently and what could be better. So I think this is a really good thing that you can do right now. And especially if things are a little bit slower for your organization, this is a good conversation with your staff. What do they see out there? What do they see that's happening? And what do we need to be doing differently? Because once you see what's happening out there, you just be able to do it better. So the next one is, what is your team's cheer or rallying cry? Now, every good sports team has their thing that they do, right? They wave the towel, they have a chant that they do, something. Does your team have one of these? Do they know what it is to sort of live this every single day? And if they don't, this is a fun thing that you can do. So identify a few words, probably 5, I wouldn't say no more than 5, that your team can get behind so they know what to focus on every single day. Maybe this is part of your strategic plan. Maybe this is part of your mission and vision and values. Maybe it's part of your core values. But I think it's really important that the team knows who you guys are because it helps them to have a story to tell. So like that client that I mentioned, they're quirky and different and they like it that way. That's actually part of their rally cry. We're different and we like it. That's awesome because then I know this is going to be a very different experience. I know that I'm not going to walk in and the walls are going to be beige and it's going to be all pretty. I'm going to walk in and the wall's going to be purple and I'm going to have really wacky looking pens and it's going to be fun and it's going to be very different. So you're setting that expectation, but getting the team pumped up again. We had a client that we were working with end of last year, and one of them actually said to me that they were a little bit kind of bored. It was like, yeah, I've been doing this a while. I'm kind of bored. Like, and I said, well, what do we need to do to get you pumped back up again so that the team gets pumped back up? And we started talking about ideas and things that we could do differently. And that competitor audit was one of them. And we were doing strategic planning. And then all of a sudden, everybody gets pumped up again. So it's kind of like it's contagious also in a good way. So if you don't have that already, I think this is a really good exercise. And don't do this in a vacuum. If you're a business owner or a manager on today's webinar, don't do this in your room. Like, don't do this in your office. Go have the conversation with the team, get them involved, have them really make it fun. I'll tell you, one of ours and one of our rally cries is we take fun seriously. That's part of who we are. We read any of our internal emails. They are incredibly snarky and sarcastic in the most positive way because that's kind of it. But our rally cry is leave them better than we found them. And that's for everything and everybody we encounter. And everybody knows that. So what is yours? What are you guys truly getting behind? You got to salesify, if that's a word, your website. And you guys know this already, but it's updating your sites and using this action verb and talking about the benefits to them, adding value to the prospects who contact you today. I don't want it to be when I send you a deal. What is the benefit for me even visiting your site and spending 4 minutes of my time on my phone doing this? You got to think about this. And a lot of what I have seen as of late with websites when we're doing our assessments with clients is they're a little bit stale. They're a little bit buttoned up. That's fine if that is your goal, but it still needs to have that salesy language in there because your website shouldn't be an informative site. Hear that? Should not be an informative site. It should be a persuasive site. Very different. I used to be a public speaking professor and I had students do an introductory speech, an informative speech, a persuasive speech, and a special occasion speech. Very different things. So does your website inform or does it persuade? Great audit to do. So once you've done that, you got to connect it to the world. You got to make sure it's optimized for truly sales and leading prospects to it. And that's where like the magic of the gremlins and the World Wide Web work. Make sure it's easy to use and navigate on all devices. So here's the other thing I want to throw out to you. If your website is not already optimized for mobile, guys, please, please, please go do that today. But also making it easy to navigate on mobile. If I have to go through 40 different things to get to the place where I'm going to send you on my phone, we have a problem. So make it as easy as you possibly can, user-friendly, white space, all that good stuff. And include irrelevant links, obviously, and often in emails and social media posts, you're going to show them how to connect to the world as well. You're going to show them how to connect to your website, where to find you guys. You will be surprised when you do this audit for yourself. Sometimes your own site is not navigable. You've got to basically do it so a 5-year-old could find whatever it is on there. I will tell you one of the examples that I see a lot: finding your actual physical address. Believe it or not, those are hard to find on a lot of websites. It's buried somewhere at the bottom. Well, if I'm going to come to your office, I'm going to do a closing, I kind of need to know where you're at. So make it easy. Give me that little Google map or whatever, but make it prominently displayed. What is the information that the person connecting to your site needs to know? That should be first. So think about it. Make it really easy. And then following up internally, we've got a couple more and I'm watching the time. I got my little timer going. So following up internally, are we keeping our promises to our clients and to each other? We say we're doing this, we say we're going to do a rally cry, we say we're going to make the closing really fun, we say we're going to create memorable moments, we say we're going to do referrals, but are we? So this is the one where so many of our clients struggle because you get busy. So you do these things when you're a little bit slower, and then when you get busy, they fall by the wayside. Totally get it. That's why you have a coach. That's why you have accountability partners. That's why you and your business partner meet monthly to talk about it. But you do need to review this monthly. What expectations are you setting for communication? And are you meeting those in every single file that you have? And are you surveying your staff to make sure you're meeting the promises that you're giving to them? When we do our assessments of companies, a lot of times the employees will say, oh, well, we did that for a little while, but then we got busy. Oh, yeah, meetings, but then we got busy. Oh, yeah, we did a thing. When you have sort of a flavor of the month, you actually take away the importance of the task you've asked them to do. So for example, we're going to do this thing where we're dropping little love bombs and connecting with everybody on the other sides of the table. We're serving everybody at the table. We're going to connect with folks. But then this summer you get busy and you stop doing that. You've just told the team that that's not important. You've literally sent the message that that's only important when we don't have enough business to handle. I would argue it's always important. But unless we're following up internally and making sure this has become part of the life of the file, part of the way that we have our client communication and part of the way that we have our client experience, it's not going to continue. And I would say to every leader that's listening to the webinar and watching the webinar today, this begins with you. This begins with you being completely resolute that this is what you want to do, that this is the thing you want. And I'm giving you guys a lot of ideas today. Please don't go back and implement them all at once. Pick a couple, kind of trickle them, stagger them. But you have to be very, very clear on the fact that you want this to happen. So have some accountability for yourself. Put it on your calendar. Put a reminder that you absolutely are following up and reviewing this. Because the other thing that I see is you'll assign something to the team and then you won't ask about it. Or you'll only ask about it if somebody sends it to you. No, you need to be solicitous. You need to be asking them, because that's another way you're going to stay ahead of the competition. A stronger team makes for a stronger customer experience, makes for a growth of business. So then you want to celebrate those successes. Share your success with not only your team, but with the world. Talk about fun stuff. Share it on your social media. Use a visual to talk about, completed transactions. Publicize it on social media. Remind folks that where you work, everybody wins. Internal, external celebrations are key. And this is one of the ones that I see we don't do much of in our industry as a whole. We're not so great at the celebration part because we're constantly running hurdles. We're doing this deal, then we're moving to the next one. Doing this deal, then we're moving to the next one. Okay, I get it. We move at the speed of business. But think about it like this. If you worked all season long and you got to the playoffs and you finally won, And there was no confetti at the end of that game. There was no cheering at the end of that game. And all that happened was you went to practice on Tuesday. Would you be terribly motivated to work that hard again? Probably not. So have some fun with this and celebrate those successes. So in the interest of time, I'm going to do a quick little summary for you. We want to improve the prospect communication, tighten up that response time, serve everybody at the table. We want to increase the business from new and current accounts by asking for referrals, providing that memorable experience, and following up with everybody. And we're going to stay ahead of the competition by we're going to audit those competitors, optimize your site and social media, and truly celebrate the success. So those of you that know me know that I cannot give a webinar without giving homework. So here is my recommendation. Follow up with those 2023 clients at least one a day and ask for a referral. That's it. Week 2, respond within an hour and learn the song of those 3 fans. Week 3, you're going to conduct the audit of those competitors, find 3 ways to salesify your website. And then week 4, review the progress, follow up internally and celebrate those successes. So easy peasy stuff for you to be able to do, but I encourage you to start now. It's only Tuesday. You've got plenty of time. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Jeremy to solicit any questions from the audience. Happy to answer. And I cannot wait to hear you guys' success stories. So Jeremy, back to you.
All right. Well, Cindy, thank you. Lot of great tips packed in here in just under an hour. As she said, maybe don't try and do them all at once, one at a time. Market's down, is slowing down a little bit, so really dig into it and get your staff on board. We do have 5 minutes or so for some Q&A, so we've got Cindy here for another 5 minutes. So send in your questions and we'll pick her brain a little bit more. We got a couple of woohoos, and thank you for a great webinar from Kimberly and Beverly. So glad you enjoyed. I'll touch on a few of the wrap-up items here, and we'll get some questions in here. As I mentioned at the top, the webinar is recorded. You'll get a link tomorrow to the recording, and as always, you can get access our webinar archive at alta.org/webinars. But I also wanted to mention Cindy did plug the marketing material. In the chat box, I posted a link to all the collateral, the homeowner outreach program that ALTA has created, that Cindy's a part of. There are a lot of one-pagers, flyers, infographics, and the really cool thing about it is that ALTA members can brand it with their own logo and information. So, and that can easily be done in Canva. You don't have to be a real, sophisticated graphic designer. It's kind of already there, and it's plug and play. And then you can download your PDF of the graphic that with your logo and information in print from your office. Do have a question from Kimberly. Is annually often enough to survey staff? Other coaches recommend surveying quarterly.
So I don't think annually is enough because we move too quickly in this industry. So I do believe that quarterly is better. It depends on the kind of survey you're doing. If it's informal, if it's formal, are you paying an outside entity? But here's the thing, I find that a lot of companies that we work with, when we go in and we do our assessment of them before we start working with them, they're a little disconnected because they haven't surveyed the staff. They haven't asked those questions. So if you're doing regular coaching with your team, if you're having one-on-ones and soliciting feedback, you could get away with probably twice a year or something like that. But I would say it's built into the system and the fabric of the culture of your organization. I talk to every single, now granted we're only a two-person company, so it's a little easier to do, but I have one-on-ones every month with everybody here. So I make sure I have that conversation. We have a team meeting that's everybody once a month. So it depends on the pattern of communication you have and where you can solicit that feedback. But I would say the more frequent, the better, because otherwise you wait a year, a whole lot of bad stuff can happen in a year that you can't fix because you can't go back that far. Great question.
A question about, communicating to your customers. And when we're talking about customers, let's just talk about realtors right now. And, every person wants to be communicated to differently. When they want to be communicated to is differently. Some may want to, in the morning, some may want at lunch, some may want it in the evening when they're watching, their kids' sporting events or whatever. What are you seeing from the realtor space? How do they want to be communicated to? Is it text, or is it email marketing campaigns? Is it social media? Where's the best bang for the buck?
Yeah, great question. It depends on the population. So if you look at sort of generationally, older generations are still a little bit more old school. They're not going to want to sign into a portal and get information. They want somebody to call them and tell them, right? They want to talk to a human being. Think about my grandma, I want to talk to a human. So you kind of think about it generationally. But if you also look at sort of the majority of realtors right now, let's call them 55-ish, they all have smartphones and their world is mobile. So they're not sitting in front of a desktop. So make it easy for me to get you the information you need. So it's probably a text or a quick email. It might be a voicemail. And I do think the phone has kind of come back a little bit as our world has become more hybrid because we want human connection. We're pack animals at the end of the day. But it is that preferential piece of knowing how they want to be communicated with. I used to coach a real estate agent. He was a broker and he never answered his voicemail, which drove me insane because I'm like, you need to literally think about this. And I said, every time that phone rings, it might be money. So I had him change his ringtone to cha-ching, like a cash register, cha-ching, because I wanted him to think about it. So you have to think about it in terms of your client base. What is their expectation? The easiest thing to do is ask them, but generational bands you can probably look at and kind of guess. But remember, we live in a mobile world. Make it easy for them to communicate with you mobile.
Yeah, definitely. And I think even to an extent, like my parents, they have smartphones too. So
Yeah.
and they communicate with people via text all the time. Now, I would say it seems like, as we're dealing with cybersecurity issues, actually speaking to someone,
Yeah.
there's security there, and that builds that trust. And it might be ahead of the curve now, as you mentioned, though people still want to talk to that person. So I agree that it just depends. So
Yeah. But that's another thing where you can wow them, right? You ask them early on, do you prefer voicemail or text? I have one client that literally you can only text him. He doesn't answer his phone, his voicemail's full, and that's the best way to get him. And I know that.
yep, yep. Well, and my parents know that I rarely answer my phone. So if you want to get a hold of me, text me.
There you go.
You also mentioned articles. So another benefit of ALTA membership, you get the daily news you can use, email in the morning, and we populate that intentionally with not just information that may impact the title space, but information that impacts the real estate and mortgage lending space. And so it's content that you can then take and share with your clients in case they didn't see it, in case you missed it, or if information you need to know. And that way you can stand out, you're providing value, as Cindy mentioned. And then, title news online, that's more specific content, but we try to make it easy for you to share, whether you want to forward it to your customers or if you want to share it on social media. That way it makes you, the expert on that topic. All right, we are a minute after, so all right. Cindy's contact information is there on the last slide, so if you have a question you think of later, feel free to reach out to Cindy there, either by phone, email, all the social media right there.
I'm easy to
Cindy,
find.
anything else you want to say to wrap up?
I just want to thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of this. I love this industry. I love helping title agents to grow their business. And guys, I really believe there's so much opportunity in this market if we just are a little bit more proactive. It takes that 5% extra effort to see some really amazing results. And so please share those with us, share them with us on social media, with ALTA. We want to hear how you're applying all the information that ALTA is providing to you to help you grow your business and thrive and have more fun in the process.
All right, fantastic. Again, Cindy, thank you again for opening up a little bit of your playbook, sharing some tips, techniques. Definitely love the scouting part on your competition. Any good team, while you do need to focus on what you do and how you execute, it definitely helps to understand the competition, get a little bit of an edge there. And with that, that will bring us to the conclusion of today's presentation. Take care, everyone.